Welcome back to Lunaform. We currently have a new lander in a lunar environment. We can click on the lander to scan for resources, we can mine the resources, collect them, and the UI updates. This week there's a couple of things that are bugging me. Firstly, my wife pointed out that the new lander I created last week looks very much like a certain part of a man's body, and now I can't unsee it. So back to the drawing board. I spent almost an entire day on this, but I'm much happier with it. I want to rig up some doors that open and close, so I'm not going to implement this just yet. After playing a lot of Balatro recently, I realised that it's the small details that can give the most enjoyment. Micro animations, small shakes, floating numbers, haptics on a mobile, extra visual differences when you do especially well. All of this adds up to an enjoyable experience where the user is rewarded for small victories without detracting from the gameplay. They have to be noticeable but not get in the way, and I like this sort of thing. So, I started with some floating numbers that indicate a resource has been collected. I wrote a script that spawns a floating number when the resource is picked up, and another script that shakes it about a bit and makes it disappear. Next, I wanted a visual indicator of how long you had left to mine that particular resource. At the moment, you just sit and wait, and at some point the resource pile will just disappear. Because we were already using floating numbers, I wanted something graphic this time, and to my delight, Unity has a built-in feature for images to give them a fill routine, which takes a given image, in my case just a white circle, and makes it look like it's filling up. This worked pretty well, and with some small tweaks to the image and a change of colour for the floating numbers, I had this working perfectly. Next on my list of things that have been bugging me is the terrain. At the moment, there is one large-sized voxel being used for the terrain, slightly smaller voxels being used for rocks and resources, and much smaller voxels being used for lunar and the lander models. It appears that this is something of a faux pas among the voxel art community, and for good reason. Whilst I can look at this as my game and I'll make it how I want to, there do seem to be some unwritten rules when it comes to voxel art and voxel games. Voxel means volumetric pixel, so like in pixel art, everything must align to a grid, and all the voxels must be the same size. So it's time to rethink the terrain and resource generation. I started off creating some concept art in MagicaVoxel, and then set about trying to implement it. As usual, this wasn't without its issues, but after a bit of debugging, I ended up with this. Consistently sized, grid-based voxels, procedural generation using Perlin noise, and some craters. I found the height variation to look a bit weird against the craters, so decided to disable it for the time being. I actually much prefer it this way, and given that the bottom of craters are mostly flat, I think I'll keep it like this for now. It does however look a bit plain, so I think we need to look at generating some sort of voxel-based shader to give it a bit of texture. So I created a basic shader graph that takes random voxels and gives them a slightly darker shade, then does exactly the same with some lighter shades. Next was camera controls. It's a bit of a pain having to move Lunar around to find resources, so I implemented the standard WASD camera controls so the user can have a scout around. When you right click on a resource, the camera snaps back to Lunar. Finally, I added zooming in and out to the scroll wheel to complete the camera controls, at least for now anyway. I changed Lunar's main light from a point light to a spotlight. This not only helps with performance because the light only points in one direction rather than in all directions, but it also looks a lot more realistic, and I think quite cool. I like the idea of pitch black darkness aside from Lunar's lights. It gives the game a feeling of isolation, but I don't know if this is a bit too much and would get annoying for the user not being able to see very far. More lights will be added as new buildings get implemented, so it wouldn't always be like this, but I wonder if this is a bit too much. Let me know what you think and if you have a preference. Next, I added back some surface rocks. I really like how the spotlight casts shadows. It helps break up the landscape, and the increased contrast gives the terrain a slightly mysterious and almost spooky feel. I also offset the inner crater circles so they didn't look so symmetrical. At the moment, you can scan the terrain as many times as you like to keep revealing resources. So it's time to add the first gameplay feature, Lunar's energy reserve. This was fairly straightforward. Another UI panel fixed to the top left, an icon and two rectangular images. One with a fixed width for the background and one with the same fill state as the progress bar. When Lunar scans the terrain, it takes a big chunk off her energy reserve, limiting how often you can do this. This also disables the scan button until the energy level gets back above 75%. Mining also drains her energy, which at the moment just replenishes slowly over time when idle. This might be something I change as more features get implemented, but for now it works well as it means I never fully run out with nowhere to go. I also implemented a low power mode. When her energy drains fully, her lights switch off and mining becomes disabled until she is fully charged. Again, I will adapt how this plays into the game, but the energy system works and is stable. Adding other features from here that relate to energy usage should be easy. At this point, I had planned to import the new lander model and get it all set up. However, after playing a game of 40k with a friend of mine, I found myself drawn towards the Space Marine drop pod. So, you've guessed it, I opened up MagicaVoxel and got to work. Doors this time and set them on different layers so they would export as separate objects that could be imported into Unity and controlled separately. This ended up being a really easy implementation, giving each door a parent object that acted as a hinge, which meant I could control each door independently through code, and once I created a script that accepted the doors as an array along with a given opening angle, I could test this easily just by making adjustments to the angle in the Unity inspector. I also gave the drop pod a radius, which means that the doors would close automatically when Luna moves too far away and reopen when she comes back. Lastly, we had some hot weather and clear skies this week, so I got my telescope out and took some photos of the moon. I ordered a Barlow lens adapter so I could attach my Canon 5D Mark IV, and whilst I think the whole setup needs a bit of tweaking, I was pleased with some of the results. My son has been into planets and stars for the past couple of years, so it's amazing that I get to show him these things up close. I'll leave you this week with some footage through the telescope, and if you've made it this far, then thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.
See the moon up there? Smile!
That's the moon.
We